Hi, welcome to this session. My name is Baxton Ochieng. This is a beginner series that we are intending to cover the topic of fencing. So fencing generally, as usual, we just do our coverage in terms of the various parts that we like to cover in regard to the rules of measurements that are available. Before we kick in to start more of the sessions for the coverage of today, I would urge you to please make a subscription so that you don't miss any of the sessions that we have in this channel. Welcome. So we'll go straight to fencing. As usual, we normally cover the bits of description, what it means. Then we then go a step higher. Something that sets this channel different from the other ones is that we give the description and then we show you now the real items, and of course be able to elaborate how the estimation is supposed to be done. Now fencing, there are different forms of fences that are available, most of which you will find depending on the choice and also the cost of the client. There are different types of fences that can be installed. So of most of the most important concern for us today is to understand how they are estimated, and of course see a few varieties that are available in terms of the types. So generally you will find that there can be different types of fences. One can be, you can have a masonry fence, that is now the perimeter wall. Then at the same time you can have chain link fences, you can even have iron sheet fences, and so on. So the varieties are wide, there are so many number of them, but then we just need to know how do you go about any of them when you are doing your estimation. So there is a typical work here that I just want you to have a look at. So that is a section drawing of a fence that is available, or a perimeter wall. Then we have the annotations of different components of it. Okay, from the top you can see there is a razor wire, if you are able to note that, and of course there are columns at the intervals, and of course being that the fence is a longer one, of course there is also an expansion joint, and so on. So we just want to see, having noted the various components of these fences, then we just need to know that for you to do your proper estimation, you need to break it down into various elements, because you realize that there are a number of activities involved for you to put up such a fence. So the most important thing is that you understand what you have in terms of the drawing, and then you are able to break it down. Of course there are those elements that are going to be estimated according to the various subsections of the standard methods in which they occur. Okay, but then most of them, you realize that if you are talking about, for example, you're talking about the chain link fence and so on, there are those rules that are now found within what you are intending to cover for our estimation today. So let's just have a look how this typical one was done. Of course, the first approach when you are intending to do your estimation is for you to interpret your drawing. So in some instances you realize that the fences in terms of the drawing are not available, so it's you to go take the measurements as a QS, and then later on, if you have a sketch of the typical sections that is available, then you are now expected to do your estimation. So what I have here was an identical sketch, okay, in terms of the plan of whatever was measured, where the fence was to be done. So once this is available, of course you have running lengths and so on. Then you are now expected to translate now the lengths in meters. Then you now do your estimation for various elements in regard to such a section that is provided here. So our approach has been we relate to the rules. I show you what the rule is talking about in terms of how to go about that, and then I show you a typical example in terms of the estimation. So talking straight into what that means, then we go to the rule, make our reference. So various components of the fence that are talked about here. We have, for instance, the posts, struts, and other supports. So for instance, we're talking about a chain link fence, like the one that I presented here at the beginning. For instance, this one, then it has got supports that, for instance, this one is having what we call for instance, this one is available for the metal fences. So once you have identified where those the metal supports, once you've identified where your supports are going to be laid, then of course you take a description of each of them, okay, description of each of them, and then you get the number for those that are supposed to be enumerated. Now we need to see some of those, how to go about that. For instance, the first rule that I've highlighted is talking about you identifying those different types of posts, the struts and the supports, and giving them in a description, of course, in terms of the number that are available, and so on. Then now we have the open type fences, post and wire fencing. So this is the one that you can see that it's done in linear meters. So you make your identification of how it's going to run and obtain your full stretched length. Okay, so of course make your reference to the drawing. For instance, the one that I was just using to show you, make your reference to the drawing, add it all around. Okay, add the dimensions that you have all around, making adjustments where necessary. Then you shall be having the length where you're supposed to have